Hey, Gabriel.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
So, where are we today?
We are in our apartment. It's
Yeah.
rainy, it's cold, there's a pandemic. Nothing's open.
May I ask you if you left your apartment today?
I did. I told you I was walking around my beautiful neighborhood.
So, unless your beautiful neighbor has a microclimate, today was surprisingly sunny. It was cold as hell, but it was sunny.
Yeah, so I only left for a little bit to go to the grocery store, and
Hmm.
all of the streets were wet. But I mean, everything was wet. It was clearly rain, but in this room that I spend 99% of my time in, there's two skylights, so I always hear rain, and I was confused why I didn't hear anything today.
Yeah, today it didn't rain. I mean, at least I went out like at 11 in the morning. It was not rainy, it was not wet or anything. And in the whole afternoon, it didn't rain. Yesterday, it rained like crazy. But
Really? So I went to the store like 45 minutes before the recording. So like 4:15 and the streets were wet. No?
well, sorry, maybe it rained at that point, but it's like after watching the movie and I finished watching it like at 4, I went to the bedroom and I was just playing some video games. And it's like I had my window open. Now you're making me doubt, it's like, and I didn't realize that it was rainy. I didn't actually just pay attention to it, but now you
Maybe it
make
was a really thorough street cleaning and I didn't realize.
maybe it was that. Who knows? It's the Tenderloin. Everything is possible. It's where dreams go to die.
Where dreams go to become addicts.
Exactly. So, what did we watch today?
We watched the 1989 feature film debut of one of our favorite directors, Michael Haneke, The Seventh Continent.
You didn't use the word masterpiece. I was just waiting, for the ultimate adjective that you were going to be
I
using
gave
there.
up the masterpiece joke. I'll come up with like a new thing. I mean, would I call this a masterpiece? I don't know. You'll have to listen to the next 40 minutes of us talk about it.
You actually call Gosford Park a masterpiece. Just saying. So, you call for a while you were calling all the movies a masterpiece. There was no criteria. Let's just leave it there. So that's the reason why I'm surprised that you stopped. And now you have like, would I call it? You call everything. But yeah, we were the Sevent Continent, and this was actually your pick, I think. Yeah, it was. And what did you pick it?
Yeah.
Especially
Um,
after warming on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
so I think I don't know why. Besides, I think as we were texting today, I felt like a little bit of emotional self-harm, which is Hanukkah. Um, in my mind, this was way more an experimental film than what I saw. Like when I saw this years and years and years ago, and I remember it being almost wordless. Like there were sounds, but there was a ton of dialogue, like a ton. I was super confused.
I had to say that as you told me that this was going to be a mostly silent movie, I was thinking about like doing some work along that is okay, I can keep an eye on the movie, but it's like I don't have to read subtitles. It's going to be like probably like fairly slow pace, so I can actually just get the gist, look down, keep doing like a bit of work, and then just multitask a bit. No
No,
freaking way. No, no. There is a lot of dialogue. It opens up. I think that it actually opens up with the writing of the letter. No, the
yeah,
writing of the letter is like or 5 minutes into the movie, and it's like non-stop talking.
I was blown away because I remember it being so different than it was, which I think is interesting. I wonder why that is, because clearly to me what stood out was the third act, which I thought the entire movie was like the third act. No,
It
there were
was
two
big.
third acts.
Yep. The interesting thing is like I didn't know. Usually I don't read too much about movies. It's like even for the next one that we're going to be watching, I don't even know what it's about. I don't. And on this one, I said, is that, look, I'm pretty sure that this movie is like every other Haneke movie is about making me feel terrible. Do I need to know how he's going to achieve that? No, I'd rather it be a surprise. And honestly, the third act took so long to take place that I felt like, what is going on? And when it was like a movie, an hour into the movie, I actually went to check online, like, when was this movie released? And they actually on the summary says explicitly, it's like, this is the story about blah. It's like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
So
man.
yeah, it was a bit more like, well, it would have been a bit more impactful, I think, if I had actually realized it.
It would have, yes.
Yeah, because basically it's like and I was thinking, I was going to be asking you, when is the first time? Well, let me just give like a brief summary.
Yeah, so
Basically, it's
tell
like,
me, Jose, what was this about?
this is a mid-class family, well, mid-high class family
Like upper middle
Austria.
class,
Yeah,
probably.
upper middle class. Exactly like the type of family that Haneke likes to torture with his movies. He's like
They're
pretty
just
targeted.
like,
Yeah.
they were so bland. They were like the
Yep.
everyman. Just,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the parents and a daughter, a little daughter. The mother works in a glass shop with his brother, with her brother. The father works in a
Ophthalmologist.
ophthalmologist. Yeah. The father works in a factory kind of thing, in some kind of chemistry position. He's very dedicated to work, and they are coming back from recovering from the wife's mother death that devastated her brother. So they invite him over for just cheering him up after a while, and he started just crying. But everything feels like he's fine. Up to this point, everything is fine. The movie jumps like 2 years later, and everything is still fine. The husband is still working. The shop is going okay. They even like just go to visit the husband parents to the village, something. And when they came back, is like there is another. So there are like 3 narrations across the movie of letters that they are writing to their parents, to the husband's parents. It may be the wife or him. So there is a narration after coming back saying that it's like, oh, by the way, I'm leaving my job. I didn't want to tell you anything because I know that we will
After you
just.
just got a big promotion. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm leaving my job, it's like I know that we were just discussing about it. I didn't want to just spoil this visit. I wanted to just enjoy the time that we had together. But I've been thinking about it, and I think this is what I have to do. And from that point, we see how their behavior changed. I mean, they just basically go crazy. I don't know if I actually missed something. It's like, were they cues about like this building up towards this? Is that they start like just withdrawing all their money from their accounts. They start like just buying really expensive food. They start like just like preparing for something. It's like, and every single time that is like when people are asking about like what is this about, is that they give like a different kind of narrative. They say that they're going to be like just moving to Australia, that they just have like a special occasion. They say when they're buying the food, they say something like that is like it's a special occasion, but it's not a wedding.
That the shop girl keeps asking, "Oh, is this for an event?" No. "Oh, so you're having guests over?" And she's like, "No, this is just for my family."
Yeah. But yeah, and they buy also like a lot of tools. So it's like up to that point, I don't know if I actually missed something, but it's like I felt like there is no real signal about what is going to happen.
Yes, I agree, and that's
Up
why
to that point. Up to that point. And then immediately, 10 minutes after the previous narration, there is another narration where they're like writing a note that you suppose that is a letter, but it's not a letter, it's a suicide note. And they talk about like the daughter, that they were thinking about like what to do with their daughter as they're going to be like going on a travel, that they're going to be like just going away. And they were like just doubting, hesitating if they should leave it with the husband's parents or they should take it with her. And as we see multiple times the daughter across the movie doing some a bit of foreshadowing, there is every single night she wants to leave the light on, and when they tell him no, tell her no, is that she actually prays and she's like, "Dear God, when I die, I hope that I can just be by your side."
Yeah.
So on the note they say is that, well, it was like the idea of death doesn't scare her at all, so we're going to be like taking it with us. And then we have like, I shit you not, 20 minutes of home wrecking. That is like this kind of very bland perspective that we had of a very average family in Austria, is that now we see them destroying everything. That I felt is like, wow, this very experimental, is that you're doing a statement here about like the, how do you say, like the destruction, the construction and destruction of the middle class in Austria, about like how they are like just breaking all their memories, breaking all their clothes, destroying all the furniture, destroying everything that they have been gathering for so many years. Is that now it's gone. Is that these families are basically gone.
Including they sold their car, they took out all the money from their banks, they shredded the money and flushed it.
And flushed it down the drain. Did I miss anything? And then they basically just commit suicide. They poison the little daughter, so they have like the last dinner, let's say, like with all the fancy food that they ate, and the next morning is that they basically commit suicide. Well, the next morning destroy everything on the house, and then at night they commit suicide. They kill the little girl, then the wife like takes some sleeping pills or whatever, just kill herself, and then the husband is the last one to go. And we see how he's like he throws up first and then he takes like another. So yeah, but it's like 20 minutes of home destruction. There is I get it. Okay, you're not being subtle about this. I get it.
Yeah, initially the family wanted to just take a sledgehammer to everything, and they're like, no, this isn't good enough. We're gonna have to do this methodically. So then they just like tear up their books one by one, and the daughter cuts up her drawings, and they rip up the couch with a knife. Yeah, I mean it's a lot, and I am a little bit sad that the ending was spoiled for you, because while I agree with everything you described, you and I like to use the metaphor about the frog in the boiling pot. Like everything is just normal. There's little things that are off, like depression, a death in the family. And you have these like epistolary moments where we're getting insight into the minds of these people, like from their writing. But things just get progressively, like you have no idea where this is going. And then I genuinely feel like the third act, the first time you're to watch this film, is pretty impactful. Like, you just think, no, there's no way this is what they're doing, and ultimately the death. It's a very, very, very strange film.
Yeah,
and it's Michael Haneke first.
Yeah, let me just read the summary that you can find on Google. If you look for the Sevent Continent, it's like, this is the summary. 3 members of a middle-class and alienated family prepare to kill themselves.
Which is completely true. It's accurate.
Well, but the thing is, like, it only happens in the last 30 minutes. You know, is that you have 1 hour, you have 70 minutes of not preparing to kill themselves, not even having like a reference towards like killing themselves. And it's like, so for me, it was like, when I read this, like, what? I think that it was like 40 minutes into it. It's like, where are the signs that this is happening? Is it when you say about like the boiling frog? Is like, yeah, I agree. For example, on Network, I think that is the first time that we discuss about it. But for me, on this case, I feel is that they are not unhappy. Is that am I missing something?
So I think the first time that for me it's clear they're considering this like murder-suicide pact is in the last letter, which comes from the son to his own parents, and the first letters came from his wife to her in-laws, where he says, well, we've completely made this decision. We're 100% sure this is right for us, but deciding the fate of someone else is really difficult. So. But then he's like, but you know her. She's like not afraid of her death. She's into it.
Yeah, that's the third letter. That's the third letter when things actually just click, you know. But is that there is a second letter from the husband, you know. At least I understand that these two are different. You know, there is that letter is just saying about like, I just left my job, blah blah blah, you know. And there is still like some days that happen, you know. And it's like when you have like the sequence of them like just buying everything and preparing for this, and then there is the other note. I understood that they were like two different. They may be the same.
So you didn't get that they weren't happy?
I got that they were like just completely average, bland, middle class people.
So I got the impression. So I will say that the visuals are just stunning in this. Like,
yeah.
they carry this entire film it's essentially very much like 71 fragments of a chronology of chance, where it's almost like disjointed but somewhat connected, beautiful visuals that tell a story in a removed clinical way, like we love about Haneke. But I definitely picked up, and again, I'd seen this film before, but the repetitive, depressing nature of everything that you see that this family does is so depressing to me. And it's just little things like we watch the family go through a car wash in real time and they don't talk. And it's like what they do is they wash their car, they tuck their kid in, they go to bed, they sleep, they wake up, they do it all over again. And again, I have the benefit of having seen this film before, but I could see in them, they're just like, they stopped being willing to engage with life because they felt isolated. They felt like there's really nothing more to this. And I could be projecting because I'm not in the best of spirits lately. So I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Murder-suicide makes sense.
No, I mean, the reason that I feel a bit iffy is that I just felt that this was more conceptual than narrative. You know, it's like all the scenes that I agree that they're gorgeous. There are like many scenes where you only see their hands and they're interacting with physical stuff. That is about like just buying something or just consuming something. So I felt like it's not so much about this family as it's about the society per se. You know, so I didn't get it like about them, like taking them as real characters. I took them just as placeholders for the middle class. And it was a bit more of a critique, you know, about like the middle class is just about consuming. It's about like just going through life. And that you may have like weird stuff that happens to you, you know, like your daughter pretending that she's going blind in classes when you're an ophthalmologist.
That really bothered me. I was like, okay, like we get it. Yeah, the daughter of the ophthalmologist pretends to be blind. I was like, you can be more subtle, Haneke.
Yeah.
But I will say, so have we said that this is based on a real family that did these things? Exactly.
We haven't said yet, yeah.
Yeah. So Haneke read a story about an Austrian family where essentially no one really knows what happened, but they found the result. This family had destroyed absolutely everything they owned. They flushed their money down the toilet. They killed the daughter and then killed themselves. But Haneke predicted to the producer that audiences would be upset with watching money be flushed down the toilet. They would be more upset about that than about the parents killing their own kids. Which is what happened because destroying money is more taboo than parents killing their child and themselves.
That's
which I will say that as a capitalist, I was like, what the hell? But I was more so shocked by the murder-suicide. Like, can we talk about listening to the mom's death rattle for like 7 minutes? Because that was awful.
The death rattle? What did you mean?
So we were looking at a close-up of the father's face while the mom is essentially dying at his side, but you hear her breathing, but she clearly has vomit, and you just hear this horrible thing that never stops.
Yeah, but it was not really 7 minutes. It was like 1 minute or so.
Yeah, I was definitely exaggerating, but if you think about listening to someone die slowly for 1 minute, I had a really, really hard time with that scene, and I wanted it to be over.
Yeah, so I agree, but it's like at the same time, it's as I was saying, is that for me, these characters were not too real. I mean, they feel a bit more of just placeholders, you know, they feel a bit more, is like, this is more about like the concept, more about like what it happens to them. That is true that Haneke likes to do a bit of that too. You know, there is a tragedy maybe happening here, but I have like a higher kind of concept that I'm trying to present. But in this case, for me, I didn't connect too much with that. So
I know that you found out the ending, but after you had watched 2/3 of the film, did you know that it was based on true events when you watched it?
No, I think that I read it afterwards. Is that because at the end of the movie, there is like some text saying like, "Oh, this happened," and then what was it like? The brother of the wife say like, "Oh, this had to be a murder. They would never commit suicide." So they opened like an investigation, and they never found anything. It was like just like file
No
like
explanation.
unresolved. Yeah.
It looks like a murder-suicide. Nobody understood their motivations. So I agree with what you're saying. Is that Michael Haneke is more interested in making statements about class essentially, right? And sometimes relationships. Thinking about a more, yeah, he's heavily critical of the upper middle class, upper class. But because I knew going into this that it was based on a true story, I spent my emotional energy thinking about the real family that did just this and trying to understand what could have possibly motivated what looks from the outside like a happy, successful family. So when you bring up the fact that it's a metaphor about the upper class, I think you're absolutely right. I just wasn't paying attention to that while watching the film.
Yeah, I mean, it felt, and before we started recording, I mentioned this, but it's like we were comparing, well, we were mentioning Benny's video, Benny, no Bernie. There were no middens involved on this one. You saw the memes about Bernie Sanders.
I did, that poor guy.
Cannot catch a break. And that one shocked me. I think that the violence was way more shocking than seeing a kid killing another kid and everything that happens afterwards. It's like what the parents do is still, like just blocked in my memory. That actually the murder suicide felt a bit more of a random. To me, felt random. It's like it feels like, and we get here. It's like how did we get here? It's like, and it almost feels like you have been doing an hour of movie for just having 20 minutes of home destruction.
But I guess what I really like, what I like about this is the mystery of this was a real family. A family did this, and we don't know the reasoning behind it. And Haneke is always very clinical. I feel like he's not empathetic with the characters he sees on screen, and we feel that as a director, so he has no sympathy for them. So what I liked was like him trying to put a story behind this horrible, unexplained tragedy that happened.
Yeah, but don't you have like some kind of empathy for the characters in Funny Games? With the family, not the two guys.
I do. I think the viewers do, and that's what Haneke does. I don't think Haneke has any sympathy for anybody in his movies.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying like sympathy, but it's like I think that he built the family for actually developing empathy for them, so the audience could actually just feel worse and worse about what is happening to them. But in this case, I didn't feel it. I felt like the mother was a bitch when she was like, "Look, just tell me if you lied about this. Nothing is going to happen to you." Like,
I won't hurt you, is what she says.
The what?
I won't hurt you, is what she says.
But she right away slaps her in the face. It's what kind of bitch is that? I mean, I just felt it's like, look, I don't know if the real mother was like this or not, but that was a very silly thing to do. It's like your daughter, the poor thing, is not going to be like growing into a good adult. But you killed her.
How old was that kid? Like 6, 7? She pretended to be blind for like, what, 5 minutes at school and she got caught? It's not like a slappable offense.
I mean, I think that even I just laugh at it. It's like, I'm an ophthalmologist. It's like, what do you think that it was going to happen?
We get it. She wants attention from mommy. Like, we get it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because I see like many of the signs from Haneke, it's like he likes to reuse like specific elements,
He does. And you can see, so in my opinion, you can see where he's going to go. But it's not, in my opinion, to the level of even Benny's video or 71 Fragments of a Chronology of Chance. This was his first film, and you can see immediately there are things that are genius about this guy. He's a virtuoso in terms of imagery and collection of shots to really get a feeling, get a sense of, I don't know, I don't even want to say emotion, but maybe a tone. It's all there. It's just that this doesn't, like, it's not elevated. It is elevated. This is better than like your average film. It's just not great.
It is, but it's at the same time is that we know where Haneke goes after this. It's similar to what we actually discussed about Almodovar with Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Is that when I have already watched Funny Games, when I watched White Ribbon, when I watched Amor, when I watched even Cassette, is like if I actually go back to watch this, he said, yeah, it's the same director. Definitely it's the same director. But it's like after watching this, I felt like, okay, I'm going to play something. I felt more or less like, well, I don't feel devastated as when I watch Funny Games. I don't feel like just this kind of Cassette, like for example, you remember the ending of Cassette that you feel is like, are you leaving me like this? Are you leaving me with no real resolution?
Yeah, and it's interesting to think, I've said this like 9 times now, that this is his first feature-length film. It came out in '89. 3 years later, he did Benny's Video, which I think is an improvement. And then he did the one that blew everyone away at Cannes, that was 71 Fragments of a Chronology of Chance. And then after that, it's Funny Games. So it's interesting, in my opinion, like as you progress through these, you see his
he develops a maturity, I think.
A maturity, but also sadism, I think.
Well, you already mentioned that, for example, when the wife poisons herself, she goes back and there is 1 minute. It's not 7, but it's 1 minute of, I'm going to just make you hear how she's just struggling to breathe and dying.
So it's interesting because I agree with you. The emotional impact is not the same as Funny Games, but the horror was the same level for me.
Yeah. The horror maybe is, but that's the reason what I was saying is that he didn't achieve developing that kind of empathy for the characters with the audience. Not from him, but it's like he couldn't actually sell these characters. They were like just placeholders.
But that's why I think, yeah, you're right. He grew and figured out, like, oh, I'm going to have to make people care about these characters to elicit the response.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, I know what I want them to feel. It's pretty clear that he knows what he wants us to feel, but it's like it doesn't work in the same kind of way. It's like I remember about like Benny's video, and I'm sorry that I'm spoiling every single Haneke movie, but the last 30 seconds when they go to the police station and the kid sells the parents out, is like, holy shit. That's so impactful to me about like, okay, it was impactful like seeing this kid killing the girl and then just leaving it there, basically, or the parents like this was...
That girl screams out of my head. That was so horrific.
Yeah, or the kid or the mother taking the kid on a trip while the father gets rid of the body. And then that ending is just like, oh my, okay. It's like, I see like such a jump in quality from this movie to that it makes me feel is that maybe actually for him, he shouldn't be like just working with stories, like real life stories, or even like just basing on books. I don't even know if his work is usually based on someone else's writings.
It's an interesting question that I just went to look up because I feel like, okay, so he definitely wrote Benny's Video. No surprise there. 71 Fragments of a Chronology of Chance. He wrote that himself.
Funny Games.
I guarantee you he wrote Funny Games. That's
yeah, himself, yeah. The Piano Teacher, he wrote it. And the World Cassette, he wrote it. The White Ribbon, he wrote it. Amor, he wrote it. So
look, it's one of the rare directors that can direct what they write.
And the thing is, like, he wrote also the Sevent Continent, but that's a story based on reality. That's the part I feel is that, look, it's cool, but it's like, I'm interested, it's like, I think that is the same case as we're talking about on Motorbike with the women in the Birds of an Nervous Breakdown. if he were to do that movie now with his current sensibility, for Almodovar's current sensibility, for Haneke's his current sadism, is like they would have been like more impressive movies by today, and like resisting the passes of time. I think because they both grew as directors.
I agree. So we've been watching a lot of David Lynch lately, and I happen to own David Lynch on DVD.
You own David Lynch, the director. You own
almost everything. Not even Blu-ray. It's DVD. And I was watching like a featurette. I think it was Twin Peaks, or maybe it was Funny or Wild at Heart. But an actor was saying that David Lynch had written the script. There's a lot of swear words, but when he was giving directions, he could not bring himself to say "fuck." And so the actors were laughing, like, you can write all of this, but you can't say it. So I tell this story, like, do you think if you were to sit down and have dinner with Michael Haneke, which, by the way, for me, he would probably be among my top 3 choices, do you think that he's, like, super dark and fucked up and jaded and disdainful of European culture?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that he hates the world. But he's the kind. I may be completely wrong. I would like to just see some interviews with him, like more interviews with him. But I had a feeling that for some people they want to balance things out. That is like, if you see that all cinema is telling you like the positives of life. If you look around, it's like everything is like Frank Capra. Is they going to say like, fuck this? Honestly, fuck this. It's like there is something terrible inside of us. We cannot say that there is only something good inside of us. It's true, but at the same time, that we cannot deny.
To optimistic films.
I personally think so. I agree with you. Like, this is a person that I would like to just have dinner with, and just pick his brain about like. So, are you going to try to murder me at some point during this dinner? Or David Lynch. I would like to just have the interviews that I see with him. I think, okay, this guy is a bit crazy, as his cinema, but he's a genius. With Lars von Trier, I don't think that I would want to have dinner with him.
That guy's a piece of shit. I mean, I love his movies, but I don't want to talk to him at all. Watching him talk to Jorgen Leth, and I was like, "Fuck you, you're a douchebag."
I know that you were miserable, but you didn't actually fulfill what you promised, so you have to go back and be miserable again. So I felt more peace about that moment that every single time that I was The Idiots.
Wow, that's saying something, because you hate The Idiots.
I hate The Idiots, but it's like at that point I felt it's like, holy shit, you're a piece of shit.
I would, if anyone's listening, any 5 of you are interested, I'll pay $150 for anyone who's willing to listen to every podcast and keep track of how many times we bring up The Idiots.
Do you think that is the movie that we mention more often?
I think it's close. I think Funny Games is up there.
I was going to say Funny Games, but I had the feeling that since we rewatched The Idiots, it has just taken over Funny Games. And we also watch Funny Games, but it's like we already know, we both agree, Funny Games is great. It's amazing.
But it's almost like The Idiots is a palate cleanser. You're like, oh, Michael Haneke just beat the shit out of my soul, and then Lars von Trier acted like a fucking idiot.
Sorry. Lars von Trier trying to reinvent cinema, trying to save cinema through an orgy of people pretending to be mentally challenged.
Yep.
That's the kind of genius that he is. But yeah, going back to Haneke and the Sevent Continent, I feel it's a weird movie from the perspective that is like most of his elements are there. Like going back to Almodovar too, is like he doesn't have like the high heels shot, shoes, but you have many elements that you see in his movies, like the middle class, the kind of there is something wrong inside of us and eventually it's going to be showing up. It's inherently wrong. But at the same time, the impact was not there for me. I don't know if for me it was like, I think that I told you this morning when we were saying, is that, are we going to be like watching this or not? And I told you, well, I feel like pretty upbeat today. I think that I need Haneke to destroy my upbeatness. And after watching it, I felt like, no, I still feel good. today's a good day.
Interesting. So I agree with you. I didn't walk away from this film feeling like I had been kicked in the stomach, which is what I walk away from Funny Games with. But talking about the arc of the director's career, so we start here, right, at the Seventh Continent, and we end at Amour. There was one extra film in 2017. Jose hasn't seen it, so we can't talk about that. I far prefer Haneke on the Seventh Continent side of the spectrum than Amour. Like, take those risks, be weird, like, do the things that are crazy and out there, because it's like Steve McQueen. Hunger wasn't perfect, neither was the sex one.
Same.
Shame.
I like Shame more than Hunger, actually.
But you would like 12 Years a Slave more than either of them?
I mean, the problem with 12 Years a Slave is Hunger and Shame, they felt new, they felt fresh, they felt like just tackling like different stories that we have seen. They felt more raw. Is in the 12-minute conversation in Hunger?
Oh yeah,
is
love it.
Amazing. It's still a bit flawed from the perspective that they couldn't actually just make it like just happen as a single shot, but it was close. And Shame, I like it. I really like it. I feel like aesthetically it's like way better than Hunger. It's clear that there is like way more maturity in what he's doing. You may, actually made the point of saying like it's not as important as Hunger, because of the topic that they take on. But with 12 Years a Slave, I feel like this is good. But I'm sorry for saying this, it's a story that we have seen other times. It's not, you're not just using a different, you're not using like a different angle or anything like that. It's almost, sorry, go ahead. What I was going to say is almost like just seeing a concentration camp story nowadays. And I'm not saying that they are not important and that they shouldn't be done, but if you don't have like a different angle to a slavery movie, I feel that they fall a bit flat. And it's true that his style is still there. He's impeccable. But I just feel like, what else are you bringing to the table?
So you like Shame more than I did, but I still liked it. But I would say that Shame is comparable to the Seventh Continent in how much I was emotionally invested in the characters. It was horrific watching this guy destroy his relationships and watching that British actress kill herself. I can't remember her name. Nothing's coming to mind right now. But I didn't walk away from that film feeling emotionally affected. Did you?
I resonated with the characters a bit more. I like the sister, Carey Mulligan.
Yes.
Carey Mulligan, I like her. I like her acting quite a bit.
I like her a lot. A lot.
Yeah. And Fassbender, he was good. It's something that the Fassbender for a while he was on everything, and he basically disappeared. But for me, it worked. Okay, I love the relationship between like the two brothers. The siblings. Well, Michael Fassbender and Carey Mulligan. Yeah.
Siblings, not brothers.
Yeah, the siblings. Sorry. Yeah. I like that, and I try to resonate with the idea. I mean, I never had like a point in my life that I consider myself as a addict, but about like the idea of I want more. I cannot stay with a single person and then say that, okay, I'm going to try to be happy. I'm just trying to make a relationship work, and I say I can't. I just can't. I'm just giving up completely. And I felt like that kind of internal struggle that both of them have, in different ways, because the sister is basically like a drug addict. Is that I found it very powerful.
What was she addicted to? The details of that film I've lost.
I think that it was heroin, but I cannot remember. It's like she actually just goes after recovering, and then she starts using again because she's like completely lonely in New York.
So I would like to point out that, well, I think both of us felt like the Seventh Continent failed to reach its lofty ambitions. You see a very like new director who clearly has skills, but
oh yeah,
this one isn't a home run.
Yeah.
has led us to talk about some of our favorite films and favorite directors. So I think that's just an indicator. This isn't like up to the standards of Amour, but this is a good movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. Is that this for being like the first try? It's amazing. It's holy shit. I mean, I wish that all directors that they actually became amazing, that they started at this point, because this is a solid movie. But the only problem is like it's just a solid movie compared with amazing stuff that he's going to be later, that he's going to be doing. Is that this is not piano teacher. It's true that you're not using
piano teacher.
It's true that you don't have Isabelle Huppert that elevates everything that she's singing, I think. But well, sorry, just remove that because otherwise I know we're going to be like watching the next time.
Happy end?
I wish. I wish. No, I was thinking. But I think that actually Isabelle Huppert and Haneke, they are like a perfect match. Like completely.
It's like Uma and Quentin. It's like it's just synergy. They're a match made in heaven.
Yeah, Isabelle Huppert just shines when she plays a deranged woman. And I'm not saying that she's a deranged woman, but it's like she's incredible on the role. It's so believable that it's uncanny.
I will never get over the fact that she is a grandma doing those things on screen. What if you saw your grandma acting in that?
But I mean, the funny thing is, like, I think that she likes to play those roles. That she's like, I'm amazing at this. I like to display like those women that they are not, at their best. Actually, I would like to just see Almodovar working with Huppert. If he actually had to do like a remake of Women in the Birth of a Nervous Breakdown, I wish that he actually worked with Isabelle Huppert.
That would be like a dream combo.
And we should actually watch the trailer, the short that he did with Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that to me, but I didn't watch it yet.
Yeah. But going back to this, it's like, I don't think that it's a bad movie, and it makes me just feel the gaps that I have on Haneke filmography. But it's not something that I could recommend to anyone. It's similar to what we were discussing about Almodovar. It's like if someone asks me, hey, can you recommend me like a good Haneke film? Probably this one, I think that is like, look, you're exactly on the same lines as Bernie's Video. I recommend Bernie's Video before this.
That's interesting, and I accept what you say.
I was not looking for your acceptance.
I know. No. I hadn't thought about the question about would you recommend this film. I think it's an imperfect film. I would recommend it, oh God, this sounds so pretentious, as like a challenge. Like can you first off watch this all the way through and then tell me what you think about it? I would be interested to hear what people think about this movie. I would. So I would recommend it in some situations. I'm never going to tell my mom to watch it. And Pablo, my husband, walked into the room while I was watching this, and I was like, get out, you'll hate this.
Has he watched anything by Haneke? Amour, no?
Oh yeah, he and I went and saw Amour together, but I think that's it. I mean, he has a hard time watching sad things on screen, but he loves sad stories in the news, which for me it's the direct opposite. Like, don't tell me about the couple that froze to death in their car because they were snowed in, but like, let's watch a couple kill their kid in the Michael Haneke film. I don't care.
But the thing is, like, in this case, this is based on the news, so you guys both can win.
And that had a layered impact on me that it obviously didn't have with you. Like, I was very invested in like, something like this happened. Why? And Michael Haneke wasn't interested in really, I think, exploring why, even though all the reviews are like, oh, this is about isolationism and people not being to like engage with other people. And I don't think he cared about that. I think he just wanted to show, hey, this is something that happened. Like, let's watch this.
Yeah, for him, it's not about like an explanation. I think that for him, it's a bit more, it's our nature. Because we may go crazy one day and do like the most bizarre thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I think that's fine. But for me, it's like honestly, it's like if I'm going to be like challenging someone with Haneke, it's like I would challenge them with something a bit more rounded.
It's not about challenging them with Haneke. It's challenging them to watch a film that's so clinical. And can you tolerate watching somebody destroy their property for whatever purpose Haneke wanted? For what? How long did you say that scene was? Maybe 20 minutes?
20, yeah, 20 and a bit over, yeah.
So you wouldn't recommend it? Do you think?
I don't think that it's bad, but it's like I wouldn't recommend it like the first thing from Haneke. You know, if someone told me that, hey, I watched already Bernie's video and Funny Games, where you go?
But can you separate this out from Haneke's oeuvre? Like, if you're only considering the film as like kind of a completely separate thing from everything he did the next 30 years, does that change your perspective?
But the thing is, like, who would I recommend it to? You know, it's like I would recommend it to someone that I want them to A, feel bad, or B, because I know they like Haneke already. And if I want them to make feel bad, it's like I will go with Funny Games. It's like I want you to feel torture on your soul. I think this movie just falls in a middle ground that is like I just feel it doesn't
I see
really.
What you say, but I also recommended this film to you. I wanted you to watch it
because you know that I love Haneke. But it's like if I told you, that, hey, I watch The White Ribbon. You know, imagine that it's like 2021 and the only thing by Haneke that I watch is The White Ribbon. And I say, I remember really liking this movie. What would you recommend by him?
To be honest, if you liked The White Ribbon, I would say watch More next.
Yeah, because the modern stuff.
And that's kind of like on the tail end of his like growth to maturity. But if you really want to watch experimental, like Haneke when he was clearly his angriest, yeah, Funny Games is an option. I recommend it to you. And we were just talking about this, that we were confused why we hadn't scored Benny's video in our spreadsheet. It's because we didn't watch it together. I just recommended it to you.
Yeah, because I never watched the early stuff. You know, so for me, it was a bit more after watching Funny Games, The White Ribbon, and more. I just felt it's like this requires so much energy from my side, but it's quality cinema. It's like really amazing cinema, but it's like it requires so much energy from my side that I'm afraid of watching more stuff. And Benny's video
didn't require energy from you?
Not as much as I expected. I thought that it was going to be destroying me, as Benny's video did. And I felt it's like, sure. Maybe it's because it's a suicide, instead of actually just murdering and then just mauling an innocent girl. But I just
so many interesting subjects to explore with Haneke.
And all of them, yeah, most of the time they end up in death. Yeah.
So right now I'm adding Happy End. Is it Happy End or Happy Endings?
Happy End.
Happy End. And then I'm going to add an Isabelle Huppert film that she just plays a happy divorcee.
Actually, in Cassette, no one dies. No? If I recall correctly.
I remember so little from Cachet besides you watch a pig get its throat slit.
Yeah, but it's the guy receiving the videos, and he started like just going completely paranoid and crazy about it, and he started like just digging into his past. And at the end, there is no like 100% resolution, but I just feel like there is no depth or anything. It's a bit more of how this guy had like this latent feeling of about to go crazy, more than anything else. But there is no murder, there is no suicide. There is only like some violence. It's like, why are you hitting this teenager kid?
I actually think there's not a death in 71 Fragments either. It's more of a... It almost feels like an examination of some events from a religious perspective. It's interesting. It's interesting how often he examines death and murder and suicide, and when he doesn't... Huh, interesting.
Well, I mean, I see that it's a bit more when we talk about how terrible people are. If we talk about like, oh, they are evading taxes, is that that's a modern concept. It's a artificial concept. But if we're talking about murder, that's completely 100% timeless. You know, is
But
that
do
they
you
would
think Haneke really examines morals in his film?
on this film? No, I think that on this film it's only about like just class and alienation.
Do you think that Funny Games is like a morality thing? I ask this question because I feel like the point of it being so clinical is not to even examine that. It's just to be like, these things happen. What do you think about them?
Well, it's true that is that these things happen, but I also think that is like he tries to say these things happen because they are deemed to happen because of his on our nature. Is that we cannot.
And that's not moral or immoral. This
No,
is
it's it's like just how you say like just violent objectivity. You know, he tries to just portray this like, and here it goes. It happened just exactly like this. You had to deal with it. You know, it's like, and he actually says that when the two guys from Funny Games is like the mother is asking like, why you guys are doing this? It's like, look, we could tell you that is because we had a terrible childhood, or we were abused when we were kids, or we have like a lot of drugs. It's like, but the truth is that it's not any of that. It's that you can find excuses, but most of the time there is no reason. Or just
Don't they say that it's just for entertainment value? Is that
because they're bored?
Yeah.
Because they're bored. You know, and we find this entertaining, but it's like from the perspective. But if it's entertaining, is that because there is no reason for it? I mean, entertaining is not a reason for murdering someone. I think about like the white ribbon. You know, the white ribbon at the end is the kids. The ones that they are like just murdering people. And we have like the scene where it's like, okay, what do we do? Is it how do we actually just judge all the kids that they have gone basically crazy and they can start like just killing random people around with random accidents? Is like we cannot do anything. But at the same time, it's like, why did the kids do that? Is because that's under nature.
So you and we share a tremendous amount of taste when it comes to cinema. I was actually thinking about this today, that we love to hate Lars von Trier. We love to love Lars von Trier. We love Haneke. we love all the same things. But The White Ribbon is a film that fell so flat for me. And I know. So I just added it to our list to watch again, because I would love to watch it again and then hear what you have to say about it.
So let me just give you like a bit of context, and I'm pretty sure that if we watch it, I will give the same context, but that will probably be in 2 years. Just give it the amount of movies that we already have on the list.
Alex Cleanser.
Exactly. So when I went to watch it, I don't remember if I told you this. I was dating like this guy from Barcelona. I know that you love Barcelona. And the thing is that we used to meet only a couple of times a month because I was living on the other part of the country. And every single time that I used to go is that we would watch like some cinema. He was in love with Ingmar Bergman, and so he used to score me because I didn't like the Seventh Seal.
I will say that the Seventh Continent, I mean, clearly Haneke is a disciple of Ingmar Bergman with his close-ups of the face. Anyway, continue.
Sure. But in any case, is that we used to go to the cinema, you know, like in the cinemas and the likes, like just watching like cool cinema. There is a neighborhood that I love in Barcelona, Gracia, I think that is called, that it would be like the Mission here, but if the Mission actually had like more life to it, you know, like more indie cinemas and the likes. So we wanted to watch a Clint Eastwood movie, one, I think that is with Matt Damon, that there is a bit of a presentation of a reality of the afterlife, about like when they die, they don't really die, they stay around us.
Is it the one where he's a psychic and anyone he touches? Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, and that was terrible. It was like I was like just for half of the movie say, what the fuck were you thinking? It's like, I respected you as a director. What the fuck is going on here? And we finished it. I remember like just him looking at me and says that this has been so touching. It has been, you have to think that there is more to love, blah, blah, blah. And I felt you're insane. And dating an insane person. It's like, I understand that people can like this movie for whatever reason, but this is weird. And then we went to watch The White Ribbon. And I remember that it's like basically when he was sober, I was like just with my mouth completely open, on my seat about like, wow, like the several layers of sickness that this have is amazing.
And his reaction?
And his reaction was like, this was dumb. I don't get it. I don't get what this was like so important or what even like just mattered in any kind of way. Like,
so when I just want to be clear that when I said the white ribbon fell flat for me, it's not that I didn't think it was spectacular, it's that I didn't emotionally connect with anything in that story. So continue, sorry.
Yeah, but I think that it's fun, like not connecting with it because it's like I think that on that movie, Haneke is trying to be more conceptual, more about like, and I think that it actually just relates to how the Sevent Continent is. From the perspective that it's not about those characters, those specific characters on the screen. It's about like the reality of the middle class and about a middle class family that they decide to say is like, fuck it. We're going to be like denying everything that defines the middle class. We're going to be like just feasting like crazy and then just throwing all our money down the drain and then killing ourselves. And in this case about like the White Ribbon, it was not about like the specific characters, it was not like the funny games. That is about that family. In this case, I felt like it was a bit more about what about if your kids that is supposed to be who you are going to be protecting and they cannot do anything wrong, they are evil. What can you do? And the answer is nothing. And that answer just left me like petrified about like, it's true, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like just hanging all the kids and starting over?
Do you think that is a concept that he explores in, if not all, most of his films, is that these things happen, you can feel or not feel about them, but you can't do anything about it. You're going to watch your loved ones die and like in Amor, you're going to watch senseless murders happen.
That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, Amor, for example, is that you're going to be like seeing your loved one that you have spent like 60 years of your life next to them, like degrading next to you. And what can you do? Nothing until one day you actually say, like, I cannot put up with this anymore. And it's exactly the same thing with crap, I forgot which one, but it's like he basically just burns out. It's a bit more of the feeling is that we, under specific circumstances, we could do stuff that we don't think that we'll be capable of doing.
Every time we mention more in this podcast, I think about the wife spitting out her food and the husband slapping her, and I'm just like, why, Michael? Why do you do this to me?
But the thing is that you are not under those circumstances. I love that scene because I think it's like these guys that they were like so cultivated, so intellectual, elevated kind of people, and they actually gave birth to Isabel Huppert. It's like, and they actually.
I had forgotten that 100%. She's in that movie.
She's the daughter. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's the reason what I say is that I think that Huppert and Haneke, they're like perfect for each other. She's the daughter there, she's the piano teacher and the piano teacher, but I just feel is that that's amazing. That actually just, don't you have situations that you are like so pushed over the line that there is like a dark thought in the back of your mind? It's like, I just fucking want to do that. It's like, I'm not going to do it. But it's like Haneke, and Haneke, what he says is that we all have that thought. We all. He's like, but what about if we actually acted on it? And I think that from that perspective, it's like the Sevent Continent is 100% honest to the message that Haneke does in all his movies. It's like they act upon that feeling about like, okay, we are just discontent with everything that we are, is that we have come to a realization about like what we are in society, that we are consumers, that we are like just merely passengers in this life. He's like, what about if we say like, fuck it, we're going to destroy everything that represents us?
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything that you just said, I agree with, and I think that talking about his progression as a filmmaker, he learned how to introduce emotion, how to manipulate his audience emotionally. It was great about the clinical view, about showing things methodically. That continued throughout everything.
Yeah, but you're right. It's like then he actually learned how to be a sadist in a better way.
Yeah, he did, and I love it. I'm a masochist. Thanks, Michael Haneke.
Should we score? Sorry, should we go over the questions?
Let's do it. So we already answered, would you recommend it? You said no. I think there are certain situations, like with you, with certain people that I would, hey, you have some interesting film taste. Let's see your reaction to this. It's not for everyone.
But would you feel like more curious about the reactions to Benny's video?
So the only reason I hesitate is because I feel like Benny's video is a little bit more straightforward in terms of like a narrative, whereas the Sevent Continent is fairly experimental. We watched 20 minutes of them destroying their house almost silently. And then there's this horrific ending. Well, to be honest, I recommended Benny's video to you way before the Sevent Continent. So yeah, I probably would recommend Benny's video, but I think Benny's video is way harsher emotionally.
Oh yeah, that movie destroyed me when I watched it. Like, no, never going to watch it. Thank you. And actually, it's like, would you watch it again?
Clearly, the answer is yes. I had seen this movie before. I wanted to watch it again. I wanted to watch it with you. I wanted to talk about it. I don't think I would watch it again for another 5-10 years, but I think I would be happy to come back to this film.
Yeah, for me, it's a bit more of a, I will watch it again, but probably I won't be making an effort for watching it again. Imagine, for example, I'm like dating someone and that person is like, oh, I just discovered Haneke. It's like, okay, I mean, if you're watching any Haneke movie, I will watch it with you. But probably I won't go out of my way for watching this movie again.
That makes sense. So you're not opposed to watching it, but you're not going to seek it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit more, it's like, I just tick this checkbox, but if it's playing on TV, yeah, I'll watch it again. I mean, it's not a bad movie.
What channel is going to show this?
That's a really good question. I don't think that ABC is going to be like playing this, like network TV, or like, oh, look at that.
Next, a family prepares to kill themselves.
Exactly. Could you remember it? Did you remember, because you already watched it, did you remember all the details of this movie?
I can't remember if this is on the recording or before. I was shocked at how poorly I remember this film. I remember the third act incredibly clearly. I don't remember the first two acts. So
what do you mean when they spend like 20 minutes destroying their house?
Destroying their house, the murder, suicide. I didn't even remember the letters or the job or the shopping and having the big meal. So clearly this film, to me personally, is impactful, at least part of it.
Because of the 20 minutes of destroying the house.
Yeah, that was really, really impactful for me. I had never seen anything like that in a film. And it affected me as like a 25-year-old.
Yeah. As I told you, I think that American networks, they should take that concept about like just hiring, like just having like 3 families participating into this, about like you had to destroy your house like the fastest. And if you actually succeed, you get a new house, like double the size, and the other two, they have to commit murder suicide. I think that is a perfect reality.
Have to do the murder suicide. Like, this is what you get.
Exactly. You made your point.
Listen to your wife drown in her vomit.
Oh God. I'm not sure if I will remember this. One of the things that I feel a bit pissed is like when I see movies that the title has zero connection to the movie itself.
I did want to ask you about the title, and there's a shot, I don't know how long it lasts, maybe 20, 30 seconds of what looks like
a beach in Australia.
Paradise, but it's like an unnamed place that this family clearly thinks that they're going to through these actions. And I did find that shot oddly like
eerie?
Calming. In a way, no, not here. I was like, oh, like this family is finally finding the piece that they couldn't find. But my emotional state today wasn't the best, so I feel like everything is a little bit skewed. I liked that one abstract scene, but I don't know that it's enough to tie the title and what Haneke was trying to get across. It's a slam. It's not a home run or a slam dunk like most Haneke films.
Yeah, I feel that felt a bit flat. That part of the concept, it just felt like you don't realize it. You don't take it home. It just feels like it's an okay idea, but it's like you don't double down on it. I just feel it's a bit more about like the middle class, more than actually about like just finding a secret Eden that is going to be like solving all your problems, because there are no problems. That's the problem here, that there is no like real problems. It's like everything is fine by regular standards. If I'm going to remember it, I'm not sure, honestly. I'm curious if I can remember it.
I'm going to set a Google Calendar reminder in 6 months.
For 2 years, okay.
Hey, what's that? What do you think about this movie?
I mean, maybe the 20 minutes of the story in their house. I mean, the movie was called Homewreckers. I will remember it for sure, but it's like with this title, like I just feel like I don't. And it's true that it's like maybe it's the idea of, okay, you're living like this mundane life every single day the same. And the first time that we see Australia is that when they're like going through the car wash and they leave the car wash and say, Australia, the ultimate paradise. I mean, they say something similar to that. And I feel it's like, well, but they never really talk about Australia except when they are just withdrawing all their money. And they say, oh, we're moving to Australia. So it doesn't have the elements for me to remembering it. Maybe I would just remember that I watched it, but I won't remember the specifics.
I can buy that. And like I said, I remembered the final act. I didn't remember the first 2/3 at all.
How did you feel when they break the aquarium?
For me, that scene absolutely worked. I think it just represented, one, they had doubts about what they were planning to do to their daughter. Two, they clearly had some emotional connections to this world that they were pretending they didn't have. It was all about like having second thoughts. And I think in that scene, it showed so well that each one of them were like, are we doing the right things? And I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that scene was powerful to me. And I also felt worse about the fishes than about the daughter.
It was hard for me to watch. What?
Well, I mean, the reason is because I know that they didn't kill that child, I'm pretty sure that they didn't kill that child. I mean, I want to think that Haneke would have got that far, but it's pretty clear that they killed those fishers.
I kept telling myself, no, somebody was right behind that camera and they picked those fish up and they put them in water. And I was like, do they do that in Austria? I mean, they wouldn't if they were Jews, but they're fish.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was thinking exactly the same thing. It's like, there is someone with a fishbowl. They're going to save them. Don't worry. And then I was thinking, I know they are letting them like just die slowly. And just with the camera, just, like facing them. So, yeah, that scene made me feel a bit of you're going too far. But at the same time, it's like, I eat fish.
Don't kill the fish.
Sally, I eat fish. I don't care. Why actually just seeing like the torturing of the fish about like, no, we're letting it down, and recording it. It made me feel like so
I felt very uncomfortable watching the fish struggle on the ground, but I definitely was more impacted by them killing their daughter. That was truly horrific for me.
I think that we already answered this, but is there anything artistic about this movie?
100%. You see the genius he has by collecting these beautiful shots and building a story together. Whether or not it resonated with you emotionally, you can't deny, especially as a first film.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, those scenes with the like top-down perspective, or like from the side, that you don't see them. That is it's another thing what it makes me feel like they're like just placeholders. That is we don't need to see their faces. We need to see what they are doing. And what they're doing is they're just consuming or buying. It's all the time. It's about that. When we see them doing something, it's like, yeah, we see the faces. But otherwise, it's like they are just they could be us. That's what
Yeah.
Haneke was to say. And I thought that it's okay, you are not looking at the camera doing this, you are not as blunt as David Lynch, for example, with the things that he's trying to do about like, yeah, you know. But this has been like subtle enough. The only problem that I had is like he uses that resource so many times across this movie that I felt is like, this is a bit too much.
Yeah, I agree.
But besides that, is amazing. You told me that this is on the Criterion Collection.
I watched it on the Criterion channel, so I have to assume that it's in the Criterion Collection.
That's cool. Yeah. Do you think that it's a timeless piece?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
Yeah.
whether or not it succeeds in what it was trying to do, there's nothing that like roots it in the 80s besides like the telephone thing, but what it's trying to examine is a timeless thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I fully agree. I think that this is, from that perspective, is you could see this in the 80s, in the 2000s, or probably 100 years in the future. It would still just be the same idea. Could you turn this into a TV show?
Absolutely not. 1 hour and 40 minutes was more than enough.
Well, as I told you, yes, I could turn it into a reality TV show. Like the third act about like destroying a house, I think that that's made for American TV.
But you want to turn it into a game show. You don't want to see like 24 episodes of what we actually
No. I just want to actually just see people destroying their own houses without knowing what they're going to be like getting out of it. I think that that's actually like a pretty good idea, you know, from the perspective is that, you know, like the price is right and all of this, that is that you don't know exactly what is in the box, what is going, I'm not talking about Seven, but it's like, what are you going to be like getting out of it? Imagine that you go to a random house in, I don't know, Oklahoma, and you know, it's like, hey, if you destroy your house in 1 hour, you will get whatever is in this box.
Yeah, I agree.
And that would be interesting to see, because it's like those 20 minutes for me was like, this is destruction porn. This is basically it, is that there is no longer any kind of point. You can summarize it in 3 minutes, and it will have worked exactly the same way.
So I disagree with you. I don't think this was destruction porn, because that's just like, hey, let's watch things be destroyed again, because I knew this was based on real events. It's like, hey, this happened. Why?
True, but at the same time, it's like, I think that the powerful part is not about that it happened in reality. It's because it's their own stuff. For example, for me, the powerful part is about the pictures. It's true that nowadays our pictures are on the cloud and in 100 different places in social media. But it's that back in the day, I'm pretty sure that your mother also has like these photo books, and probably she never digitalized them. Is that those are memories. My parents have those from when I was born. Is that those pictures are only there. They are memories. They will never get rid of them. They are like a special thing. Is that they're seeing the mother like just going methodically over each one of the pictures and say like, fuck it. Is that part is pretty powerful, and I would like to see like just random people doing that. It's like, would you be like just daring to go over the things that you know that you cannot replace, that there is no way of getting back, things that you actually, when it's a rainy day, you could be like going back to because it actually fills you with joy, and destroy them?
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
My answer is that I wouldn't do it, you know, but it's like, I would be curious to see, is like, would people do it? You know, and just my perspective from the American perspective is that just for reinforcing the consumerism that it trigger according to the kind of narrative and imagery that Haneke presents here, that it just triggers like the family to want to kill themselves.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, I think this would be the perfect show for the network, from the network movie from Sidney Lumet.
Yeah. Yes, it would be perfect there.
Yeah. Okay, so scoring?
I went back and forth a lot. It's not a perfect film, but I still think that compared to the entire spectrum of film, it's definitely above average, and I would call it a 7.
All right. For me, it's a 6.5.
And that's the other one I considered, but this is elevated for me.
Yeah, for me, it's good, but it's like if this was not Haneke, and maybe I'm not completely unbiased about this. If this was not Haneke, this was a random director, I would be like, yeah, 7, definitely. But for me, when I compare with everything else that he would be producing after this, I feel it falls flat. It falls like just, when you have like a Coke on the fridge for 2 months, and then you open it, it's like you're expecting to still see some bubbles, like a small fish, like. That's exactly how I felt about like, sure, it has to be. It's not bad, definitely, it's not bad, but it's like I was expecting a bit more.
That's fair, and that's why I was asking you throughout the discussion, like, can you separate this from the rest of his films? Because I do deserve it. I do think it deserves to be examined as a standalone piece, but yes, you're right. It's part of that entire arc of his career. We've seen what he's done in the, 32 years since the release of this, so I get it.
Yeah. It's basically exactly what you were talking about, Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. That is, when you compare it with Pain and Glory, it's just like, is this serious? Is this from the same director? Yeah. But I think that is like, okay, this is from the same director, but it's like the sensibilities are the same. The only thing is, it's not so mature as everything else that he's going to be like this. Put in later. Cool. So for the next movie, anything else to say about this movie?
So I will say that right before, so Jose, I don't know if you knew, he's not from America, he's from Spain. So he's not an SNL disciple, which I would say I'm a moderate fan. So I asked him to watch the skit Debbie Downer, which if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and watch it. I just read this super amusing review of the Sevent Continent, and it said, Michael Haneke could be the Debbie Downer of cinema if he had a sense of humor.
Yeah, definitely he doesn't have a sense of humor.
No, he doesn't. It's all serious. But he is Debbie Downer. So.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're feeling good? Let me just fix that.
Let me tell you about feline AIDS, because it's a real problem.
Yeah, I only watched like 2 minutes of it, and I get the gist. That's basically the thing. So, you read the review from the New York Times?
I did, yeah.
What did they say?
They said that this was like a incredibly talented sophomore in college made a film, because clearly there's some amazing things about it, but there are some serious problems with the script.
Holy shit, I mean, I wish that I went to that college if I could actually make this as a sophomore student.
Yeah, I mean, they said incredibly talented, but they were like, look, when the child of an ophthalmologist decides to pretend to be blind, they said, I think the last straw for him was watching the fish flopping on the ground. They're like, okay, we get it. Everything is hopeless. Fuck you.
Well, that's true, and that's his style, but it's like, he still did it in a very, how do you say, like, correct way. I don't know if it's correct, but it's like, he's talented.
Yeah, he has a vision. He has a perspective.
Yeah, and you may think that it's a sophomore effort because it's a bit on the nose, but it's like, come on, it's like, there is sophomore efforts and sophomore efforts, and this is not one of them.
So what are we watching next? It's your pick.
Yeah, it's my pick, and I made the mistake, we mentioned this before the podcast, of thinking, I always second guess myself, thinking that Haneke is German, but he's not. He's not. He's Austrian. He's Austrian, but it's like, as they speak German too, it's like, I always like second guess myself about this. So I thought that it's like, okay, I know we're going to be like watching this. That I threatened you for a while about watching another movie of one of the most bizarre German directors ever, that is Fassbinder. And I wanted to at least just watch a movie that you already watched, and I wanted to watch, that is The Marriage of Maria Braun, and that's going to be your next pick.
Yep, so it's a film I've seen. I watched it years ago. I thought it was incredible. It was the first thing I'd seen by this director. Now that I've seen a couple other films, I'm like, he has a script from himself. But
that didn't prepare you for Carol.
No, it did not.
But in any case, before we talk about this, I think that we're going to be like talking about something else.
a surprise episode that varies a little bit from our norm.
Exactly. So just leaving people hanging there about like what is coming. All right, this was great. Thank you so much for just making me watch a Haneke movie and not destroying my soul. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, and to everyone out there, thank you so much for listening.
And wash your hands, even if you're vaccinated. Just wash those hands.
Exactly. Bye.